What's up, Facebook, Periscope, Instagram? Good to see everybody. Today's lesson, guys, is about triplet rolls. How do you build them up, why they're important, how you can teach them to your students. You can go to my website. There's a free PDF that accompanies the lesson. So you can check that out at huei.com. And then at the top of the page, you'll see a tab that says Periscope. You can click on that. If you're a veteran watcher, you just know it's huei.com/periscope/ and then today's lesson is number 25. Lesson 25, and it should be titled Triplet Rolls. Download the PDF if you haven't already, grab your sticks, and let's get started. Today's lesson, we're talking about how the triplet roll stems from the single stroke 7. And the way it's written on the rudiment sheet, if you download that PAS rudiment sheet, it's written in like a duple format. Now, real quick before we jump into the 7-stroke roll, one thing to notice is a lot of times students get confused. They're like, why is it called a 7-stroke roll or a 5-stroke roll or a 9-stroke roll? And that comes from it being like a double or multiple bounce roll. So if it's a 5-stroke roll, what that means is each buzz, like when you're playing buzz rolls also, each buzz or each hand is considered 2 notes. So for example, a 5-stroke roll would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a 5-stroke roll. And then you might see a 9-stroke roll, which would look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the release is 9. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. A 9-stroke roll. 1 E and a 2. 9-stroke roll. Okay, so in this case, we're playing a 7-stroke roll. So how would you figure that out? 2, 4, 6, 7. If you start with the right hand, 2, 4, 6, 7. Start with the left hand, 2, 4, 6, 7. A lot of times you can play the 7-stroke roll on the downbeat. You can play it as E and A. So if you're going like 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A, 1. E and a 1. You start with your left hand, right? Usually when I say to my beginning students, hey, let's play some 7-stroke rolls, the way we'll do that is we'll start with our right hand first, because that's what we do everything. We usually start everything with our right hand first. And I'd say, okay, do a 7-stroke roll, and I explain that 2 strokes per hand bit that we just shared. We say, okay, now play 7. 2, 4, 6, 7. Da 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 da. Dee 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 dee. Okay, so you just do that a few times. You say, okay, now try that off the left hand now. Da 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 dum. 2, 4, 6, 7. Da, 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 da. So you notice in this case, we're not putting any sort of rhythm with the roll. It's just getting the right strokes out, and you can talk about motion and sound, and then you can talk about how you're starting with the right hand, and you want to be equally strong off the right hand and the left hand, okay? The next step is you want to try putting a rhythm to it. So a lot of times if you're playing traditional rudimental snare drum solos, you'll see them as pickups. They're like, right? And in those instances, it's played as a E and a 1, E and a 1, E and a 1. So you can have your students try that a few times, and you explain, in order to land on the right hand, we'll start the 7-stroke roll with our left hand, E and a 1, which is natural sticking for us if we're playing alternating strokes. E and a 1, E and a 1, E and a 1. Okay, now in the context of today's lesson, once you've got that put together, in contemporary marching percussion, when we see this most often is we see these with triplet rolls, right? And triplet rolls, you gotta have them at some point. You're gonna be playing these. You get to a certain tempo like 140, 150, 160. It's much harder to play fast duple rolls, right? And so we start shifting to the triplet subdivision. And what I say in the handout is like, there are few things as fun as playing a clean triplet roll with another marching percussionist or in a drumline setting. If you play a crystal clear, pristine triplet roll, it's the strangest feeling, and yet that's, once you taste it, that's the only thing that you'll want to taste from that point out. Because when you play a perfectly balanced blended triplet roll, it's strange because your sound of your own playing kind of disappears and melts into the texture of the entire snare line. And so one of the things that I want to mention here is a lot of times young players, they're worried about hearing themselves when they play, but if you're playing really blended, balanced to the person next to you, you actually won't hear yourself, which a lot of times causes players to change and like, oh, I got to do something so I can hear myself. You know, just enjoy it. Enjoy that you are in the texture, which is great. We're going to talk more about the balance and blend part later in the lesson. But the first thing is we just want to make sure we get a great rhythm, great double, and a great stroke type. So as we're doing this, the first thing that we start with, when we do, like if you've seen the marching percussion playbook, if you saw the first lesson on rolls that we did back in lesson 5, we inserted the rolls into like a 1-in-1 format, in a, like a, for duple rolls. So it would look like this: 1 E and a roll, 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 1. And when I first started teaching these triplet rolls, I would play them like this with my students. I'd have them go triplet roll, triplet roll, because it would be the same number of hands. But a lot of times in vocabulary, you have rolls that go like this. And it's just one count of triplet roll. And so we don't want to neglect those single count triplet rolls. So the first exercise that you'll see on this PDF when you download it is the 1 and 1s. There's one count of check and one count of triplet roll. So the first exercise we'll look at is this. Triplet roll, triplet roll, triplet roll, triplet roll, 1. Okay, so we're just playing triplet check, triplet, 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 triplet. And it's one count of check, one count of roll, and we're going to do it 4 times. So it looks like this. Triplet roll, triplet roll, triplet roll, triplet roll, 1, 2, again, go. Triplet roll, triplet roll, triplet roll, triplet roll, 1. A little faster, ready, go. A little faster. Last time. Okay, now as you're playing this, if that's faster than you can play it, or this is the first time you've tried this, recommend you guys going back, way back to where you can actually feel the 1, 2, 3 triplet roll, triplet roll, triplet roll. And again, reference lessons 5, 11, 7, and the rhythm is the most important thing. Make sure you get an even sound from hand to hand, and the subdivision in this case, we have triplet 8th notes, so these are 24th notes that we're playing in this triplet roll subdivision. So you want to make sure your 24th notes are a really even sound. Now, one thing to mention as we're playing these patterns, and of course you're doing this in front of a mirror or you're recording yourself on your cell phone, you want to watch your sticks, and you shouldn't see the motion or the height of your sticks change or your arms change when you go to the roll. So a lot of times I see this happen with younger players. When you're playing the check, it looks like this, looks great, right? But as soon as you roll, you switch to like a lot more arm, or the motion gets stiff, or the height gets higher, right? So what you want to see is it should look like this. Chaka-ka roll, chaka-ka roll, chaka-ka roll, chaka-ka roll, ba. It should all look the same motion. Da-da-da. The motion should stay the same. The only thing that's changing is the number of notes that you're getting per stroke. That will not happen overnight. It's just something that you have to pay attention to and strive towards making really even, and that'll be the key to getting yourself a really even double stroke roll. Okay? Okay, the next one we're looking at are 2 and 2s. So we have 2 counts of triplet roll, triplet, triplet, and then we're going to roll for 2 counts. Again, same motion, and we're just gradually building. Just as you would build a house, we start with the foundation. Great check, great timing, great motion, great flow. We add just 1 count of check, and then we remind ourselves immediately, hey, this is what the check is supposed to feel like. 1 count of roll, hey, this is what your hands are supposed to look and feel like. So we're always referencing back to what it should look and sound like, and then we're adding the new skill set, which in this case is the triplet roll. Okay, so 2 counts of check, 2 counts of roll. We're gonna do it 4 times. Ready? Here we go. 2 and 1, 2, ready, go. Counts of check, 2 counts of roll, 2 counts of check, roll. Again, I'm looking for the same motion from hand to hand. Heights don't change, flow doesn't change. Last time. This is a good time to mention the importance of also practicing all of your exercises off the right hand, off the left hand, and also at a variety of dynamics. So right now we're playing at a forte, 9 inches or 12 inches. You want to make sure you practice at 6 inches. It's going to feel different, right? And there are different tendencies at different dynamics and different tempos. And that piano, ready, set, go. Piano, and you can do crescendos and decrescendos over the entire exercise. Like, that's actually a great tip for teachers that a lot of times I forget to share, which is take any exercise that you have right now and just say, okay, we're going to crescendo the entire exercise from piano to forte. And then you can point out to your students, okay, halfway through the exercise is in measure 5, right? So by measure 5, we should be at a mezzo forte if we want to pace our crescendo so that we finish forte. You can do an entire bar of crescendo, or an entire rep of crescendo, an entire rep of decrescendo, a rep of crescendo halfway to forte and then back down. There's endless possibilities, but you want to get your students thinking musical as soon as possible as you're working this. Okay, let's burn that one a couple of times, and then we're going to move into the last 2 examples. Okay, so 2 and 2 still. Out here. 2 and 1, 2 and go. At this tempo, this is most often where I see people start trying to muscle out the roll because it's faster, right? And you can feel your hands wanting to work harder for the roll. And this is when it's especially important for you to remind yourself that look how relaxed and natural and flowy you're able to play this check. You're not stressed, your shoulders are relaxed as you're doing this. The motion is smooth in both hands, and you want to replicate that ease and relaxation that you have during the check when you're playing the roll. So if you see or hear yourself going, then remind yourself to relax, and it should just be, you know, like a hot knife through butter as you're going from the check into the roll. If you overplay the roll, it'll actually slow down and overbalance the players next to you. So make sure that that roll, the touch and the feel of that roll is just as relaxed as the check. Okay? All right, next exercise, 4 and 4s. So we've got 1 and 1s, we've got 2 and 2s. Again, we're just gradually building up to longer duration rolls. If you don't have a great sounding 1 and 1, then your 2 and 2 is probably going to not sound as great. If you don't have a great sounding 2 and 2, then your 4 and 4 is not going to sound great, right? So start from the small building blocks, and sometimes people will start long, like 4 and 4s, and then work backwards to 1 and 1s. That's fine also. 4 counts of check now, followed by 4 counts of roll. As the roll goes on, one strategy that you can apply to all your exercises or to anything you're playing really is to be aware of your tendencies. Your self-awareness of your tendency can actually prevent you from falling into the common problem that occurs before it even happens, right? Because you know you're playing a triplet roll, because you know you're human, because you know you're probably going to slow down at fast tempo rolls or speed up at slow tempo rolls, because you can think of those tendencies before those happen, you can actually counter those tendencies. So for example, if you know you're going to slow down in the fast triple roll, think about putting a little more gas at the end of the triple roll to actually trick yourself into keeping the roll the same tempo. All right, so let's do this a couple times slowly, and do it like forte. Okay, 1, 2, forte, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So a lot of times instructors say, oh, well, my students are getting bored. How do we move through this faster? And they want to play fast burning rolls. And you say, well, look, if you want to play fast burning rolls, you've got to understand what it feels like and sounds like to play a clean roll first. When I start, like my high schoolers with summer drumline camp, I mean, day 1 or week 1, we start with a ton of this, right? You're going back to square one, right? And when we start doing gallop, it's like, eventually until it's, so triplet rolls could be as slow as this. just big open full strokes, and you're making sure that you're getting 2 wrist turns in both hands to even sounding notes. Because if you don't have a solid foundation starting here, when you start going faster, you're not going to know what that quality is supposed to look, sound, and feel like as you're playing. Again, if you feel yourself starting to muscle the rollout, just remind yourself to relax. Don't forget to breathe, especially during the check. You're relaxing, right? And make the roll feel as much like the check as you can. All right, so you got your 4 and 4s. Don't forget to practice them off the left hand, off the right hand, all dynamic levels as you're playing these. Okay.